Hello, hello. I'm Ryan, and I'm also an Asheville native. I had no idea what I was doing before I started building my first house. Luckily, I had this thing called the internet, which is very convenient. I didn't have to run to the library all the time to look things up. Um, what was also kind of convenient is my memory and remembering that my parents always told me that I could do anything that I put my mind to. Didn't matter what it was. And when I had a daughter, I decided that I would just do that. So I decided I would build my house out of the box a little bit. I decided I would build it out of a couple of shipping containers and a lot of reused, repurposed materials. I always wanted to do something positive with my life and leave a positive impact on the world with my footsteps. So I tore apart a lot of different houses that were being torn down anyway and pulled out a lot of different materials, including windows, 2x4s, all different sorts of things. From demolition projects, renovation projects, as well as new construction, a lot of things are thrown away that could be reused and repurposed. The first step was clearing the land. I bought a quarter-acre lot in West Asheville, and my sister's business, goatscaping business, she's also kind of out of the box, landscapes with goats. So they came in and ate away all the stuff on the land, and then we dug out the foundation out of clay, which was a particularly hard thing to do. After the foundation was dug out, we poured in the concrete. I'd never poured concrete before, so that was a pretty interesting thing to do. These are all 2x4s that I pulled out of dumpsters from construction sites. It's all repurposed material. The blocks came out of other construction sites as well. They were chipped and had cracks in them. This is the shipping container yard. That was the next step, was picking out a couple of shipping containers. So I wanted extra high cubes, which are 9.5 feet tall instead of 8 feet. And Landport in Atlanta had 9 of them available. So we went down there and picked out the 2 best ones with the least amount of dents and rust and that type of thing. We then had them transported here to Asheville and dropped off in a parking lot on Riverside. That's where I started cutting them up. Used a hand grinder for almost 90% of the cutting, cut out window holes and door holes, and actually cut one of the containers completely in half, which was quite interesting as well. Getting underneath of it was kind of a crazy experience. This is bringing the containers to the lot. We had to pull out that stop sign and put it back in afterwards. It was kind of a tight street, so that was something I was very nervous about, was if we would actually even be able to get the containers to the land. Luckily, it worked out. That's my daughter, Soleil. That's another thing I wanted to pass on, the basic idea of, you put your mind to it, you can do it. It doesn't matter what anybody thinks. So this is a 70-ton crane in the front yard that lifted the containers up over our neighbor's house and dropped them onto the foundation, and she liked that very much. So this is after the containers were set into place. In the center is a concrete slab on top of recycled concrete aggregate, which is basically parking lots that were pulled up and ground up. And we packed that down and then put recycled billboards over the top of that for the water barrier, and then framed out that top wall. This is putting the roof on. Those 2 pipes I pulled out of a dumpster for a gas station that was being built. Apparently they didn't need those anymore. So we use those to pull the sheet metal up on top of the roof. That's standing seam roof. So that was that whole process, and then we framed in between the 2 20-foot halves of the containers. I did all the plumbing work as well, or a good majority of it, had a little bit of help, but this is digging out the trenches and filling them back in, and the electric came after that. So the way that it worked was I cut one container in half and took the 2 20-foot sections, butted it up against a 40-foot section at the back, and in the center is the concrete slab. That negative space is actually the living space, so that's the living room. This is where we framed in the interior walls and also painted the containers. Up on top on the left, I'm also a graphic designer, so I decided to take pictures of every single wall and measure out the distance between the studs so I would know where all the studs are at. So I've got all that, which is nice. This is the insulation. We just closed cell spray foam insulation in the walls where the container is. I framed out the interior with flat framing because I didn't need the support. So I was able to do continuous insulation in the walls, which is really pretty efficient. And then also open cell spray foam insulation in the rafters. I had a lot of friends helping me and family as well, kind of building a footprint for my daughter. And yeah, so this was putting up the siding, we had a bunch of scraps that we pulled from a company called Deltec. They helped us out. They gave us a lot of hardy plank, and we stained it and put that up. So this is the side of the house. Underneath still looks like that. This is actually pretty much how it looks right now. It's still not completely finished yet. It's probably going to be another couple of years until I'm done with it. But that still needs to be framed in down below. I also own a 1/4 acre lot beside the one that the house is on. Right now it's got my daughter's play place and a fire pit, so it's a nice hangout spot. This is the finished interior of the house. The main heating source is the stove there, and then we've got a ladder going up to the top of the containers. Those windows actually, the lot is southwest, so it's passive solar that comes through the windows when the sun is down lower in the wintertime. It heats up the slab. Higher in the summertime, there's a 4-foot overhang, and it blocks the sunshine, so the slab stays nice and cool. These are the rooms. This is my daughter's room, and then my master bedroom here. The walk-in closet in the master bedroom. I kept the bedrooms and the bathrooms inside of the containers and used the negative space for the living area, for the kitchen, dining room, living room. So this is the kitchen. Those counters were pulled out of a 100-year-old farmhouse, as well as the sink, and we redid the counters. The light on the left there came out of a pawn shop, so we just kind of pulled things from everywhere to put this house together. This is the master bathroom. That tub is from Craigslist, and eventually that floor will be tile, but it's going to be a minute or two before I get that done. Yeah, the faucet fixtures are also custom done. I had a plumber friend of mine help me put those in and do those. So it's really nice to be able to change things as I went along. So the house kind of moved and changed. The final product was $110,000 for a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house, 1,400 square feet in the town of Asheville. So that's with reused and repurposed products. I mean, it's something that anybody can do. I had no idea what I was doing before I started this, and so yeah, that's pretty much my house.